my understanding that the recommended method of measuring for elevations is through GPS technology. What I'm wondering is, has anybody done any of that to determine what, or create a benchmark so that when you start venting and flaring, at some date we can see what the subsidence is in the Bayou Corn community?
I know there are some benchmarks on the dome. Gary, do we have any benchmarks set up around those right now?
No,
Okay, is that something we can do?
we can certainly do that.
All right.
Okay, because I think the community needs it.
That
So when can we expect it?
benchmarks,
Yes, sir.
our field guys will do it. We need to make sure they're in deep enough so they don't move, but it's within a few days. We can set benchmarks out by where we're going to be flaring.
Well, but out where you're flaring is not where my house is.
But Nick, also realize there's benchmarks with DOTD that's already set up.
Yeah, that's for the highway.
That's for the highway.
That's for the highway.
So that is one indication. I just wanted to.
Well, but that doesn't indicate what's happening around our houses. Whenever the slabs start moving and the structures start coming apart.
So they have indicated they're going to put in some additional benchmarks. But along with that, they'll have the highway to also evaluate.
I think that everybody here wants to know when they're going to do it and where they're going to do it. You know?
So the question is, I guess, will they do it on an individual landowner basis? Just put a benchmark, a GPS elevation benchmark? Is that the question?
Right.
And I guess they'd have to go back and evaluate whether or not, there are some benchmarks, I guess, on the highway as well as around the property that they're venting. So the question is, y'all would like to see a GPS benchmark on each individual property to see after the flaring's done whether or not there's been any subsidence.
Absolutely.
So we'd have to get with DNR to see whether or not they can evaluate and get that done. Is that a hard task to do, or obviously that many, but?
No, it's not a hard task to do, but on all this stuff, we've got a lot of things going on, and I hear your concern. We're also looking at the geoprobe work and everything, and we're going to be setting up benchmarks for those. And so, whether it's on your house or not, we've got to evaluate that. But that's kind of where we're at.
But I guess we just need to note it as a request from the citizens to have these benchmarks put throughout the landowner's property. So you can evaluate, and you can, a year from now, you can see where the benchmark is after the flaring and the venting's been done.
Right.
Okay, we just put that on the note. They would like to get that done if all possible.
You know, and before you start venting.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Ashe?
Do you know how the contents is in the dome now? I talk about the large dome. How it got in there, because the dome was supposed to be, I don't know, 4,500 foot deep to 5,900 feet. And the information I've received is they are something like 1,400 feet more shallow than what they were to begin with. And I wanted to know how that contents got in there, how it's going to get out.
Okay. The question is the cavern, Oxy Cavern number 3, is now 1,400 to 1,500 feet shallower, and how the contents got in and how will it get out. And who wants to fill that one? Brian, you want to fill that one? Martin? Bruce?
As I stated 5 minutes ago, it appears that the material in the cavern came from outside the cavern into the cavern, and that is related to the sinkhole. So that's where the fill material appears to have come from. We're still doing a lot of analysis on that, but right now 1,500 foot of cavern was filled up, and we've got a 400 foot deep sinkhole at the surface.
Is that trees or dirt, or what is that in the cavern? Or can you
In the cavern, the little bit of soil sample we've collected, it looks like shale rock, which is similar to the geologic units right outside the cavern.
Thank you, sir.
So that would have came from the top of the cavern?
The top of the cavern's intact.
400 or 500 feet of it, that's it, right?
Correct.
That's not much, but the rest is full.
Mr. Ashe.
May not be there.
Yeah, well, my question is, so it's apparent that the cavern has failed, correct? The
That's what we
cavern's
understand.
failed. All right, now DNR told us there wasn't much they could do about a failed cavern, all right? Now they're telling us that crude oil is coming from either one or all three of those layers. How can you stop it?
Okay, the question
How can you
is
stop
that,
if crude is coming from a natural source or one of these three layers, how can you possibly stop it? And eventually it would get into the harbor.
the question is the crude oil that's possibly coming from one of these individual layers from the outside area of the salt dome, how to stop it from entering the cavern, I'm assuming, and as well as how to stop it from coming to surface and through the water aquifer.
I can't tell you how we're gonna stop it right now. I can tell you what we're doing to get to that end point. And that is, we are talking to experts all over the country, and some of them are overseas, who are experts in seismology, rock mechanics, and related features. And we're talking to those folks to get their input to help us address that very question you asked. But right now, I don't have any kind of answer.
Yeah,
But we are working on it. That's one of the things DNR has tasked Shaw to do, is be able to look at that as to what created the problem in the first place, and then the second part, what are we going to do about it?
Yes,
For him.
Yes.
The salt dome, since it might have busted at the bottom, does the actual salt come back towards the cavern at the bottom? I thought it went on an angle like this, but you think it curved back towards the cavern?
We've got two. Oh,
well, the question is, he said the salt dome typically goes on the angle. He's wondering whether or not there's any bottom to the salt dome, whether it's just a side that's been affected or whether the whole bottom is.
Well, I want to know if the dome went towards the cavern at the edge of it, the western edge, if it curved back towards the...
Wants to know whether or not there's still a curve in the bottom of the cavern.
I think Dr. Kumar might be able to answer that, because I think he brought a graph from previously at one of the meetings. Dr. Kumar?
Well, that's what the latest survey indicated, that there is a slight overhang, and and that's what we know. But nothing has happened to that. It is what the Shaw Group has been telling you, that the sedimentary layers outside the exterior of the salt mass, that actually has entered the lower part of the cavern.
The lower part of the
Right,
cavern.
that's what I'm saying. So the lower part, the edge of the salt dome is closer to the edge of the cavern at the bottom than it is at the top.
Yes.
So it must do like that. Yeah.
Right.
That's what I got.
And I guess,
I
Sterling,
want to know if they had a survey picture of that,